Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. You join me in the middle of New York City with our Tesla Model 3. This is Out of Spec Dave's, the cheapest Tesla you can buy, and I need to charge it. So we are doing a video today, which I think is absolutely fascinating, on charging in urban environments, specifically street side charging. And FLO here in New York City has installed over 100 level 2 charging ports, all street side, and we're going to tour a few of them today. We're going to talk to some of the engineers on the project, designers, and also the utility to talk about how the program is running. But first, it all starts with plugging in the car and showing what the experience is for the user. So let's get into everything to do with street side charging here in New York City. Well, you guys, join me in New York City where, before we do anything, I just want to see if this thing even works. I've actually pulled up the Tesla, parallel parked it right here in front of this street side FLO level 2 charging unit. By the way, over half of New York City residents don't have a garage or place they can install charging, which is actually why you don't see that many electric cars here. And so having this as a solution can really increase the adoption of EVs. And actually just driving around to a few spots this morning, it's like people are really using them. I have so many stats, so much data to share with you around this whole thing. Let's get into it. But first, I want to show you how this works. What I've done is I've loaded up the FLO app, which, FLO is really going big into the US, so I encourage you to download it. But they also roam with ChargePoint and others, so you don't necessarily need their app. Most EV drivers have ChargePoint. But what I've done is I've clicked this little button on the app to blink the charger I want to plug into. So you can see this one's flashing white, and that's because here on the 10257, I've clicked that little blink button and it's blinking the charger. So that's pretty sweet. I'm going to hit start charging. What this is going to do is it's going to unlock this port that is normally locked. Right now I can't open it. You can see it says, please wait, it's communicating. There we go, just heard it click, and now I can pull the cable out. So no one can just pull up and plug in. You have to initiate the session. So here on the app, it says ready to charge, waiting for vehicle connection. Well, let's do just that. If I come over here to the charging port, I can unlock the car if we get close enough to it. There we go. Car's unlocked, charging port open, level 2 adapter for J1772 installed, and we are in. Really nice connector here. Nice latch on that particular one. You can see the car's communicating with this blinking blue, and now we are charging. What's cool is, these aren't necessarily the highest power chargers. We're not talking DC fast charging. This isn't a 10-minute in and out. This is for when you're running into a store or going to work or charging at home. It's actually cheaper to charge at nighttime. Again, we have so much to get into here, but this is all you need to do. You roll up, you activate the charger, you plug in, and it's right here on the street. Now, you would think, okay, putting chargers on the street in New York City sounds like a disaster. People are going to destroy them, crash into them. And yes, things happen. And FLO had to design these units for the city, for this environment that they're in. And so today in this video, we have representatives from FLO and Con Edison, the utility here, to talk about this project. And really the reason I wanted to make this video is 100 of these around New York City is awesome. It's a cool pilot project. Of course, with millions of people living here, we need more than 100. I want to know, is this a viable installation? Is this something other cities should copy? And what has FLO learned through this project that maybe can help other utilities or other cities and municipalities install and engage people to drive electric with programs like this? So again, it's going to be a long video. We're really talking AC charging here, but I'm going to be doing it while Out of Spec Dave's Tesla is charging up. And man, just an epic day here in New York. It was pouring rain. The rain has stopped. Let's nerd out about all things AC charging, which again is more important than DC fast charging for 90% of people. If you can just charge overnight, this is the way to do it. Let's nerd out. Well, you guys, join me here charging up the Tesla. I'm joined with James, who is the East Coast Territory Manager from FLO, and he's going to explain to us a little bit high level about FLO, about the project as a high level, but of course other projects that are happening on the East Coast. So let me hand the mic over to him and let's hear what he has to say.
Thank you, Kyle. So I've been at FLO now since February. I've been in the EVSE space for about 2 years now, and to give you a little background on FLO, FLO started in Quebec City, Canada in 2009, and we got into the States about 6 years ago. And one of our biggest early projects was this New York City curbside project and collaboration between NYC and Con Edison. It has, proven to be a very successful program. Just to give you some of the highlights, we have maintained in the first 18 months of the pilot a 99.99% 99.99% uptime. We've had over a 40% utilization, and any issues that have come up, we've been at about 12 hours to fix that issue. So when you think about this beautiful city that I call home, all the stuff that kind of goes into it, over 8.5 million people, to be able to not only provide reliable chargers to the New York City, but also to make sure that they're working and people are happy, has been a wonderful thing.
Well, a huge thanks for that quick high-level tour of FLO. Again, so much more to get into in this video, but I wanted to talk about just this particular street side charging unit, about the cable management, super high up there, looks pretty robust. We all know FLO is one of the most reliable charging networks in Canada, and now that they're launching pretty heavily in America, well, I'm excited about it. And, we all love charging. We definitely need more level 2 charging. I don't cover it enough. And very rarely do I see level 2 units that look like this. This is like industrial grade, New York City grade chargers. And actually Keon is here who can tell us a little bit more about the design. So welcome to the channel.
Thanks, Kyle. So yeah, we're really excited about this product, our level 2 Smart 2 BSR product. This product is actually designed specifically for the New York City market. So we brought in an industrial designer from the city of New York, Ignacio, and he modified the design to kind of suit the industrial design language for the rest of the city. So it blends in with everything else that you see here in the city, all the font, all the colors. So it looks like it's right at home. The chargers themselves are Smart 2 chargers. So these are our chargers that are designed specifically for the curbside market. They have a couple of features that make them really ideally suited for that market. One of them is this locking door. So this will actually protect the charging holster until a session has been authorized. This way it's more resistant to vandalism. It's less likely to get damaged by people or by bad weather or things like that. And you also see this really angular design, so this gives the charger a lot of mechanical strength. You can take a baseball bat to it. I think one of our chargers, we have the same deployment in city of Los Angeles. One of them took a bullet and it was all right. If you come around back here, one of the things that makes this really uniquely suited for a curbside deployment is it's a entirely self-contained unit. So all of the distribution equipment, from the metering to the breakers, everything is in this box back here. And it bolts right onto the back of this charger. So there's no additional cabinet that you have to locate elsewhere on the curb. In a city like New York, where real estate is at a premium, this really helps you save a lot of headaches in terms of design of your sites. You just drop the thing on the curb and everything's right there. The pedestal on this charger is also designed uniquely for the curbside. A couple of features, we have a coating on here that is graffiti resistant. So if someone takes a spray paint can to it, it's easy to clean off. It's also got this really small footprint, right? So again, in a place like New York City, where space is a premium, you want something that's really compact and small, doesn't take up a lot of space on the curb. The base of the pedestal is also designed in such a way, in New York City, there's a lot of pedestrians, right? Not only do you have cars, you also have a lot of people walking on the sidewalks. One of the requirements from the city of New York when we started this project with them was that we consider the safety of all the pedestrians that are passing by. And one of the things they asked is, if a car were to hit the charger, they wanted it to fall towards the car and away from pedestrians. And they also wanted it to be designed in such a way that when that break does occur, all the electrical connections have a clean break. so that there's no live wires that might present a electrical risk to pedestrians. So our team did design, strategically placed weak points in the base of the pedestal, so that if a car does hit it, it'll fall towards the car and not towards the pedestrians. And also, there's the electrical connectors in the base are also designed in such a way that when that base breaks away, there's no live wires that can be exposed.
Thanks so much for that tour. That is pretty epic. All around, I think what's so fascinating is the design challenges of integrating into probably the hardest city for mobility in America. I mean, just getting around New York City is a pain in the ass, to be nice about it. And having a charger that New York City can approve to put in, well, that must have been tough. Maybe you can tell me just slightly, how difficult was it to get it approved by New York to put these in the ground?
Yeah, so one of the challenges was how do we locate these chargers in a way that doesn't take away parking spots from places where parking is already limited. So there's a lot of collaboration that has to occur with different stakeholders, community leaders, different, across the different boroughs to kind of identify the best locations, the most ideal kind of locations where the community both needs the chargers and also isn't. Where the chargers won't be a hindrance to the existing people that are there, right? Because if you place these in a place, or if you install these in a community where there aren't many EV drivers, where that demand isn't there, then you're taking away 2 parking spots, and in a place like New York City, like that's a big deal.
Well, thanks so much for the tour on the charger. That is pretty epic. Congrats to you and your team for installing this and designing it specific for this market. And of course, Los Angeles, you said they were also being used in this application. I've actually filmed some of the chargers in Los Angeles already. If you watch, I'm trying to think, the Volvo V60 Polestar review or also the Cayenne plug-in hybrid review, I did them actually charging up for range tests on these FLO units, these 30 amp units. Again, not the highest power. FLO's actually never really been known for delivering the highest power out there, but they have been known for delivering reliable, repeatable, consistent power. And honestly, in a place like New York City where you're not driving very far, you're honestly driving for a long time in a lot of traffic, high power charging infrastructure isn't the priority. Just being able to plug in your vehicle where is most convenient is the highest priority, and having 30 amp charging, 6 kilowatts or so, that is plenty for New Yorkers. Even a wall outlet would work for many drivers here. So this is certainly faster than what's needed for this application. And yeah, I think residents are certainly thrilled about it. What I want to do now is talk to some of the folks from Con Edison, the utility here, who've also been responsible for installing these chargers and making these things really, I would say, a reality. So let's chat with them and see what's going on and see how it was to integrate and work with FLO, and then we'll go visit some more stations. I want to go check out maybe 2 or 3 more of these. Well, now things are about to get super nerdy. Roy is on the channel from Con Edison, the local utility here in New York City. We are going to discuss the partnership with FLO, what it's been like to work with them, why Con Ed selected FLO, the unit selection, the safety, the working with the city, the interconnection, all of the nerd stuff. So Roy, thanks so much for joining. Really appreciate it.
Of course, my pleasure, Kyle. Yeah, I love to get nerdy. So Con Edison, we're the utility here in New York City. We've been working with FLO on this project for about 3 years now, since 2019. We've got 116 chargers across the city. I wanted to point out the interconnection piece. So at this site, there's a junction box just by that green sign. Sure, let's go ahead. So we have a junction box just right here. You can see it's maybe, 15 feet away from the post. So this was a very easy job for us, just to pull up the sidewalk, do the trenching, run the conduit over, and make this a relatively easy installation. We did a pretty big siting exercise at the start of this project back in 2019. We looked at over 500 different locations, and one of the priorities was to make sure that it was an easy short run to lower the cost and to make this an easy thing to do. Talking about the interconnection, the biggest thing is safety, right? Like, safety is always the first priority when you're working with electricity. So we have a breakaway on this box. I think someone mentioned it earlier, but if you were to hit this post, it will come towards the vehicle, power will immediately shut off. It's not so heavy that it's going to crush your vehicle, and it's going to prevent any injury to any pedestrians nearby. So that was really something very important for us at the beginning. Thinking about the customer experience really in general, I mentioned earlier that 50% of people who drive cars in New York City, they don't have a garage, they don't have a driveway, and they park on the street. You know, this is the norm. Actually, I would say this is a relatively calm part of New York City. You see a lot of places with a lot more cars, a lot more congestion, and a lot more people trying to find parking. So we have to have chargers on the street. This is why Con Ed got involved with FLO. We put out a bid and we said we want to bring curbside charging New York City together with the New York City DOT. And FLO was one of many bidders that we ended up deciding to go with them because they brought a very good product, very good experience with other networks that they've done in LA and in Canada. And yeah, we feel like it's been a great success. You know, one thing to mention, when we first started, we expected to see utilization around 10-12%, and now we're at 44% in the month of September. So, you know, nearly 4 times as much as we were anticipating. So that just shows that we need more of these chargers out there, and that's exactly what we want to do as a utility, is bring more of this as an opportunity for our customers to drive EVs.
Can you talk to me a little bit about the business case for Con Ed? Because, you know, maybe explain a little bit about the monopoly thing, or
Sure.
However you want to brand that would be interesting.
Yeah, sure. It's a bit complicated. So this is a unique pilot. When this expands, we're not really going to be involved as much as we are today. For us as a utility, we want to give service to everyone. We have to bring reliable service, consistent service to every customer, whether it's an EV charger or a skyscraper. It doesn't make a difference, really. So the business model here is just to get the conduit in the ground, make sure that there's support. We do currently have an agreement with FLO where we share some of the revenue and we recompensate for the energy costs. And we do that strictly because we knew it's a pilot and we wanted to get as much learning as we can. So every week I talk with FLO, we look at the numbers, we look at the incidents of vandalism, and you know, we pay them on a regular basis to keep these things up and running. So that's how we keep that very high uptime. So the business model for us is really to prove that this is a good concept and that there needs to be more of it. And of course, as a utility, more chargers is more customers. It's better for our base, so we can spread out our total cost across more customers. So it's better for the utility, and it's better for every one of our customers that they're paying a little bit less because there's more customers in our network.
Sick. Maybe you can talk to me a little bit about you know, some of the learnings throughout this project and what other cities need to take in mind when working with or selecting a charging provider like FLO or ChargePoint or whoever. You know, what are you looking for in the bid process? And
Sure.
Is like the FLO's unit, is there something particularly unique about this one that works well for this application?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I don't want to name any names, but I'll give a fun anecdote. So I was at a ribbon cutting event in Staten Island for our 100th charger, and there was another charger in the parking lot, maybe 20 feet away. And if you go to that charger, there was a paper sign that said, "These are down, please use the FLO chargers on the corner." So that was a fun little moment of pride where we said, hey, look, you know, this is proof that the uptime is really good. But a big part of why we decided to go with FLO, they have an operations here in New York City that they built out specifically for this project. They're going around and they're stopping at every charger multiple times a week to make sure that it's working. They have a good dedicated team in Canada that pays attention to, you know, all of the online statistics to make sure that the gateways are communicating properly. So that was something that was really important to us. You know, it's relatively easy, and I think a lot of municipalities get tripped up on this. They have these lofty goals of how many plugs, how many chargers, get them in the ground, move fast, which is very important. But if they don't work a year after you put them in the ground, then everyone's angry, and that can actually be a big step in the wrong direction. Because EV drivers are now saying, look, this is useless, I don't want to use this, I have to do it myself, I have to rely on my own ability to charge at home. And that's not what we want. You know, we want to make sure this is a pilot. We want the customers to have a great experience with the pilot. We had a lot of talks with FLO about this early on, setting up strict things in our contract about the target uptime, how it needed to happen. And yeah, that would be my main advice for municipalities out there as you're rolling out curbside charging. Make sure you think about these things early on, because you don't want to be chasing and fixing it later.
All right, guys, well, we've just unplugged. I'm going to go on a trip to go find some more of these because, again, with over 100 out there, we got to go find some more. So let's load up in the car and let's go see what else we can find. That was pretty cool. We were here about 45 minutes, got a few kilowatt hours. We're up to 49% from low 40%. So that was perfect. Model 3 standard range, charges pretty quickly with a 32 amp onboard charger maximum in this car. That was a 30 amp charger, pretty much maxing out almost the AC charging capabilities of this. That was pretty perfect. We're gonna go cruise around the city, see what else we can find. Well, guys, we are on our way to another charger. There's a hybrid van right there, Model X, and a Q4 e-tron, and here's a FLO charger. So let's wait for traffic to clear. Let's back into this spot and juice up the 3. So here we go, into reverse and backing it in to this conveniently nice and open. Love to see it. Okay, so I promise you this is not staged. I rolled over here with Roy from Con Ed to take a look at another site installation. And apparently there's a woman who has a Q4 e-tron who always just parks here illegally. She's not blocking a spot, but she's got tickets just all up on her windshield. So that's like a known person. But we ran into Ron from FLO, actually, who is one of 2 service techs working just on this project. So Daryl and Ron are the 2 like guys who keep these things working. And as we're about to plug in, we noticed that this one actually had said it's out of service. And what Ron had done is he actually remotely disabled this one because he wants to take a look at an issue. He said there's been a couple of people that have commented, okay, maybe it's been a little bit hard to get plugged into. And they, again, have like sometimes a same day response or at the latest a next day response. So we were just about to plug in and we're like, oh, why did it shut off? And he's like, oh, I turned that one off so I can take a look at it. So I was like, hey, do you mind if I film like what happens when you service these things? So yeah, maybe we'll get some of Ron's opinions on the hardware and how they service. This is perfect timing. And I guess they just have 2 of these vans. They just go around all over New York City to keep these chargers working and operational. Love to see it. Well, we've been hanging out and chatting for just a few minutes, and Ron has already got the whole area kind of coned off, which is awesome. And you'll see like I mentioned, he shut the charger out of service, but just now he set it back to online. Basically, he wanted to reserve the charger for himself so he can make sure that it's working for the next person. So on his drive over here, boom, he had disabled it so no one could charge, as in us. That was perfect timing. And now he's ready to come and fix it. And Ron, do you know what the problem is with this particular unit?
So a customer called in and complained about the charging cable had an issue, so we're going to evaluate and see what's going on with the cable.
Okay.
Get it back in service.
Do you have spare cables if you needed to replace it?
Yes, I do.
Okay, awesome. And how often do you think you see issues with cables? Is it an everyday thing or?
Not very often. The cables are very durable. Only where we really have an issue with the cable, if misuse or a customer drop the cable and damage or roll over the cable with their car.
Yep,
So
makes sense.
they're very durable.
Very cool to see. Well, thanks so much for getting this one online, and I hope you don't mind, but once it's fixed, we'll try and plug it into our Tesla over here and give it a go.
Sure.
So Ron's just inspecting the unit here. He's making sure that the housing is good, that the latch is still intact. He was telling me a lot, of course, with the J1772 latch. Sometimes people don't really know how to pull it out of the car, especially with ID4 and Q4 e-tron as an example. You need to unlock the vehicle for it to remove the latch. So at least on the face of everything, it's looking pretty good here. He just checked the cable management, did a full extend, going through the locking mechanisms here. I figured what we should do is at least plug it into the Tesla and see if it charges here in a moment. But he's got a reboot card. That's cool. So you can just restart the charger right there. And yeah, just going through all the preliminary checks. Preventative maintenance. Love to see it. Well, both Ron and I could not find anything wrong with that charger, so we're going to do a quick little test. Now, of course, this particular van is not electric. I think it would be cool if FLO gets some electric vans. Maybe we should help them with that. But he does have a box that he can test the charging with. What we're able to do with the car is put it on constant load for a long time. So I've already activated this charger through my app. Oh, maybe I took too long and timed out. Let me reactivate the charger, and then we'll plug it in. Okay, we are good to go. Just activated through the app. Just can't dilly-dally too long. Let's grab the cable. Of course, the Model X is charging on the other one right here. The charging port, open, up. Thank you, Tesla. Did it lock itself? No, we should be good. Everything is going slow, and we're in. So let's see if it actually charges and if there is an issue. So cool to run into Ron, and so cool of him to allow us to film some of his work. And we are charging. So as far as I can tell, no issues. This is the previous generation handle. There is a new updated handle that is slightly more robust from a latching standpoint, but this one actually seems to be working fine. Honestly, there's no reason to replace it if it's continuing to work. You can see we're ramping up the charging power there, 30 amps at 206 volts. And a lot of people like this Model X, Ron was saying, like, probably lives here because he sees the cars often, very expensive apartments around. They just use it as their charger. That's kind of what it's for. You pay by the hour. It's cheaper overnight. So if you charge it at night, it's only like $1 per hour to charge versus, $2.50 an hour midday. But I have to say, this charger is working great. I mean, I'll also help with some of the maintenance stuff. If I pull the the cable management down really nice. This is the Gen 2 cable management, actually. Originally, FLO installed a steel cable management, but my understanding was it wasn't working great. So one of the benefits of having your own in-house service and support in the area where chargers are installed was when they realized, okay, we have to upgrade this. They just did a quick campaign, went around to all the chargers, swapped them out, and now they have this awesome cable management. Really liking this one here. Yeah, awesome units. I'm such a fan. And my understanding, we'll go to another site that has multiple. If you have a site, and I think FLO might actually put some more in here because there seems to be quite a bit of demand. When you have a site that has sort of a power or multiple stalls, if you will, multiple posts, only one of them has the meter and the control box logic. The rest would just be the singular pole going down. So I want to go to another site to see what that looks like for power distribution. But yeah, this is just freaking epic. All working great. You could park here, go to lunch, spend as much time as you need. Again, there's no time limit. You just pay by the hour. So it only makes sense to leave your car here while it's charging. And it sounds like, to me, at least for many people trying this and doing this, they, at least according to the data, yeah, it really actually, they move the car when it's done in general. Now, they're also exploring and looking into different plans on how to encourage certain behaviors from charging, but just loving the whole service here, especially having built-in technicians like Ron and his colleague Daryl, keeping everything up and running. That's what's needed to keep a network up. You're dealing with the public. People are running over cables. People can knock into these posts. You need people to keep them serviced. Well, guys, just pretty epic to see FLO have their own service. And this was not part of the video shoot. This wasn't totally planned. I'm just glad we were able to run into Ron. We tested the charger. We helped fix it. And actually, there was nothing wrong. Sometimes people just, sometimes don't use it. But Ron also said he's going to keep an eye on it, monitor it. If something does end up going wrong, well, he's in the area fixing chargers every day. I'm going to go find another station, I think in Brooklyn, that has multiple of these posts. I want to see what it looks like when you have multiple street side chargers. So let's head that way. And now you join me about, 20 minutes down the road, only about 4 miles here in Brooklyn. And I can see more charging stations. I've just stuffed my car here on the side of the road, and things are looking definitely different over this way. I probably could have squeezed in here and charged, but I don't really think there's a need to. A lot of Teslas get, dinged up. All cars do. Interestingly, you'll see that charger down there has the box on the back of it. That's what does all the site level metering. This particular one, again, just has the power going into it, but the breakers and everything are in that box up there. So it's a really cool, installation. I like that you just need sort of one central unit to feed all of the dispensers. I don't know how many they can hook up to one, but it sounds like at least 6 or 8 or even more. So, yeah, it's pretty convoluted around here. Let me share my final thoughts on this installation because I think it's pretty epic. It's a cool pilot program, and I hope we see more of it, of course. Let me jump in and give you my final thoughts on this program. Well, there you guys go. Basically a full tour of the FLO New York charging network. Now, of course, I didn't go to all, I think 116 ports that they have installed right now, over 50 locations, something like this. Absolutely awesome to see this pilot program. And again, it's a huge effort from FLO, from Con Ed, from New York, a whole bunch of people involved. And this is a pretty amazing pilot program to see. 100 stations is no joke. And with more being proposed, well, I think we can learn a lot from this program. I learned a lot just speaking off camera with the folks involved about some of the big costs that are involved with engineering and building infrastructure in New York City. It's unlike anywhere else in the world. It's probably the hardest place to service electric vehicles, and it's one of those places that needs to transfer to cleaner mobility as soon as possible. So these types of solutions, having that singular junction box that can feed multiple chargers, having reliable units with in-house service technicians with same day or next day response time to problems, these are the only ways that this type of solution will work. Now, that's not to say it's 100% perfect. You still have people parking in front of the stations occasionally. However, it sounds like that has gotten so much better once the parking authority realized they can just ticket ICE cars for blocking chargers. Again, it's a learning process for everyone involved. This is the toughest place on the planet to provide charging. And I have to say, I think FLO built one hell of a unit. Now, maybe in the future, it'd be cool to see even higher power AC charging, but for many of these locations, it's just overnight charging for people, and 6 kilowatts is more than enough, especially considering I've been driving around the city all day today, and I've only driven like 20 miles. It's been insane. I mean, you just sit in traffic all day. So having an electric car is perfect for here. Having charging that's convenient, that's equitable, that's easy for everyone to use is absolutely paramount. And, I think there's more to cover here on this story, but this was a cool first glance at the FLO New York City street side charging network. They also have these in LA, like I mentioned, and hopefully other cities will sign on and join these types of programs, because in order for EVs to work, you need to be able to charge them where you park cars. And if you look out into the world, you'll see a lot of parked cars with not a lot of chargers, and that has to change. So thanks so much for watching this episode of Out of Spec Reviews. Thanks to FLO for arranging everyone to come and talk to us about this program. Hopefully more to come in the near future, and we'll see you on another one soon. Bye-bye.